Environmental racism is glaringly evident in the United States. We've had North Carolina and the toxic sludge from pig farms, Flint, Michigan, and lead in the water, toxic tap water in North Carolina. And now Elon Musk has built a data center for Grok in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you hear what is going on, it is staggering. Welcome to another edition of the Intelligence Report. First of all, before we get into the news for today, I really would like to thank all the subscribers, all the new subscribers that have come on board. It's really staggering to see the amount of comments, especially on the one video on Ghana, the outcome of the year of return, and also the whole thing of African Americans. I'm not saying all left, I'm saying some left. And we will be coming back to you with different videos which you have asked for concerning the purchasing of land, talking about business, and other related videos for your education on moving back to the land of Africa, and especially for me, specifically Ghana. I know Ghana is not the favorite for all of you, but I believe Africa is calling you home. But let's get back to the news. XAI has been claimed to have been running more than 15 gas turbines at its new Colossus facility. This facility is in Memphis, Tennessee. The emissions are estimated at 1,200 to 2,000 tons of nitrogen oxides. This has been linked to asthma, lung, and heart disease. Formaldehyde is also one of the chemical pollutants which can lead to cancer. According to the NAACP and the Southern Environmental Law Center, they have filed or signaled intent to sue, alleging XAI has violated the Clean Air Act by using unpermitted turbines. Now, with the budget cutbacks by DOGE to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency in the USA, will these residents get any legal compensation from XAI? This data center consumes approximately 1 million gallons of water per day, and they're talking about increasing the size of this facility. And there's all manner of pollutants that may end up in the water supply as they use this as a cooling system for the facility.
These are the gas turbines fueling the supercomputer they call Colossus. They emit hazardous pollutants like formaldehyde and nitrogen oxides, according to the manufacturer.
Just over this fence, you can see and hear the turbines churning 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Without them, the data center does not function. What's not in dispute is the fact that they are polluting the air. What people don't know is how much of that pollution is reaching nearby communities.
Easter Knox lives 2 miles away.
You smelled it
Yes, Lord.
right away?
I sure did. Well, after they got situated, I started smelling it.
Knox lives in Boxtown, a mostly black, low-income neighborhood in South Memphis,
The health department, they need to be ashamed.
where industry has taken a toll for generations.
There's a lot of people out here who got medical problems like breathing issues.
Cancer risks here are 4 times higher than the national average. Cancer killed her father and other relatives, Knox tells us. Life expectancy here is 9 years less than the national average. Elon Musk's company is not to blame for those numbers, but that legacy and those turbines have triggered a backlash against XAI.
Hello, everyone.
A recent health department hearing turned into a shouting match. An executive from XAI ducking out a side door.
Now, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because we've got to understand that Elon Musk is on an agenda to promote AI and robotics and so on and so forth. So on the one hand, he's talking about the dangers of AI. And then on the other hand, he is pushing for the establishment of technocracy, with the US leading the way in this.
There will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything. So I don't know if that makes people comfortable or uncomfortable.
But what a lot of our people do not really understand is that as he pushes this, the result is going to be the loss of jobs, great pollution in the atmosphere of the country. And I know a lot of you were very critical when we were speaking about coming back to the continent and coming to places like Ghana. And I have a few things to say about that today, because from reading the couple of hundred comments that came on that one video, I was shocked somewhat by some of the statements which were disrespectful, and I had to remove because those statements were against me personally. However, the constructive criticism and certain views were left because it is genuine criticism, of which I'm not afraid of. But then we've got to look at ourselves as a people. And I wept when I watched this whole episode taking place with Elon Musk and his facility and the folks who are there. I believe that area has about 1,000 inhabitants, of which I believe the great percentage are black people. Wow. Now, let's have a discussion, because as I said, some of you really have gotten to a point in life where, because you've lived in the West for so long, there's not really a full understanding of the scope of things that are going on. And because many of you, because I've lived like one of you, because many of you go to work and come home and are just fighting to pay bills, I understand the suffering and I understand the struggle. But because of this, sometimes we're blind to really what is going on the ground in these, what you call advanced countries, where you have a welfare state and you also have the ability to get employment easily. So I understand going to a place like Ghana, Nigeria, any of these places, Liberia, doesn't sound appealing to you, because I told you the truth, that really when you're coming here, you need to be entrepreneurial. And for many of you, you know, that's not going to be the case, because you have been, or we have been, let me say rather, schooled to be employees. And so those of you that are entrepreneurial, that do have the capital, these are the ones that need to come back to the continent and pave the way so that there are jobs for those who would come later on. But until then, we have to also educate ourselves about both sides of the struggle. It is unfair, Black Americans, and I'm speaking to you, and unfair, Black Africans, for you to not know each other's history. And the truth of the matter is, recently there's been many attempts, especially in the US, to suppress that history, because now it is being labeled as wokeism. And so if you have a conversation about the truth of Jim Crow and the truth of people being hanged, okay, on trees, sorry, I'm being so graphic, but I've got to be, and the truth about redlining, and the truth about gay debate, and all these things that some of you should really research that are from Africa, because I don't think you really appreciate the struggle that our people went through on the other side. And I know I keep hearing statements about Mother Africa We reached our arms out to Mother Africa, and Mother Africa didn't reach her arms back out to us. But that's just a romantic statement that you need to dismiss and delete. And the reason that you need to do so is that this kind of personification of Africa is ridiculous. On our side, Black Americans, you need to understand that we went through colonialism right here on the land. And after colonialism, we have been living in the shadow of neo-colonialism for decades. And now we're beginning to shake that off. And so suddenly there is rapid development as we take a hold back of our resources that should be used to build our own countries. But we also need the different, how can I put this, processing plants and other things in order to process our own minerals and own primary resources ourselves. So it's crazy for a Black American to talk about, and Black British, whichever one you are, to talk about how Africa is underdeveloped and all these other things, when you don't understand that the country you live in has been siphoning money from all these African countries and suppressing the price of primary goods for its own purposes, while you're living off the cushion of African resources that have built up those countries. And I can also talk about the Caribbean, because it was the same and is the same struggle in the Caribbean. People in the Caribbean built up places like the United Kingdom with the sugar economy as they were cutting cane and being abused in the fields. Yes. And so we need to come to reality about the truth of things and not have this warped and crazy ideal that has been orchestrated through the mental slavery of our former captors, who still have us captive through media and hiding our history and having us hating ourselves to the point where I've heard Black Americans calling Africans crispy black. Yeah, I know that sounds funny to you, but it shows me a hatred for yourself, where I hear some Black Americans saying that they are not Black Africans, but they're saying that the majority of them are Native Americans, which is absolutely crazy, because if you went to do DNA tests, you'll probably find that most of you are from Central and West Africa in your DNA. And then those of us here on the continent, just because people come here once a year and you see them spending what looks to you like exorbitant amounts of money, because you got to understand, Black Americans, diasporans, wherever you are from, we don't have a culture of holidays over here in and on the continent. And so when people see you coming and spending all that money in a short period of time and enjoying themselves, you've got to understand, as fallen humanity, there are issues with us. The scripture says all have sinned and have fallen short of the glory of the Most High Yah. Why? Because they've been living, some, in abject poverty for so long. And so when they see people coming over that just spending all this money, they feel like they want to get their hands on some of that too. And I know that sounds horrible, but the truth is we need to school each other about what goes on either side. Because all that money you're spending, I know for some it's credit cards. I know for some it's savings. And you're going to go back to these countries and rejuvenate or replenish the monies that you spent during these holidays. And so, no, the holiday was not for free. It's all a part of the struggle to get some kind of semblance of sanity and happiness out of life for that intense labor that goes on over there for some Monday to Friday and for some shift work all week, because I know you work hard in the diaspora. And so we need to learn a lot about one another and not take it for granted that because we're black, we're exactly the same. No. As for me, it's a little different because I've lived in America. I've lived in the United Kingdom. I have lived in the Caribbean. Yes, I have. And because I've lived in these different places, it's easier, I suppose, for me to have an appreciation and also to not be so critical of the different places and the cultures and the food and the environment, because I understand the struggles for us as black people have not been entirely the same in the different places. But take it from me, we need to get out of the West. We are under an existential threat. And that threat, it does not just face black people. It faces all of humanity with the rollout of AI and all these technologies that are coming to the fore. Soon you're going to be forced to make a decision. And that decision is going to be, you either merge with the technology or you become second, third, and if there was a fourth class, I'm sure they would invent one, citizens in the world. And so I ask you the question, is Africa a horrible place, or is it a safe haven as we see the fall of the United States empire and we see countries getting ready in Europe and in the West to go to war with other countries like Russia and China and Iran and North Korea?
I believe that we are already at the early stages, if not in World War III.
It just doesn't look like the wars of the past.
And people should understand what is at stake, which is we are one misunderstanding, one miscalculation away.
Or even one AI-generated viral video.
From nuclear annihilation.
Is there anything at all you're doing to prepare?
I'm leaving the United States by 2026.
But we lost in Afghanistan. I know this is hard for Americans. We went to war in Afghanistan against the Taliban. You know who runs the country now? The Taliban.
And it didn't take long.
No, we lost. We went into Vietnam to fight against the North Vietnamese. The country was divided at that time, which was run by the North Vietnamese Communist Party. You know who runs Vietnam now? The Communist Party. We lost. All right, we went into Iraq. We were supposed to do something there, hard knows what, but we lost there. We're gone there too. And we're in the process of losing Ukraine. If you're an empire and you lose against some of the poorest countries on earth, you know what it suggests? Something's wrong. Look, when you came out of World War II in 1945, the United States was absolutely dominant. Most of the second half of the 20th century, where people, watching this program, we all have at least some memory about it. We were the richest country, the most politically powerful. We had all those bases around the world. We had the biggest military. Wow. Yes, it go to your head. It does. We were king of the hill. But those things are always temporary. They always have been. When we go to Egypt, we look at the ruins of their empire. When we go to France, we look at the chateaus that are the memory of what they once were. Well, it's not going to happen to us. We're somehow different. It's already happened. We haven't been paying attention because it's so painful to look at.
You know what? We don't have that long. We probably have until around 2029 to get our act together, because after that, it's not going to be easy. Black Americans, when Trump, I believe it was the last time he was in power, one of their things that they were doing was talking about building a wall.
Build that wall, build that wall, build that wall, build that wall.
And that wall was supposedly to keep those coming through the borders with Mexico from entering into the United States. But I believe one of these days, that wall that you heard a lot of the Caucasian peoples saying to Trump to build will be the wall that keeps you in. And so consider the things I'm saying. And know, as I've said before, a word to the wise is enough. And I quote from the late Bob Marley, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but us can free our minds. Bless you. Thank you for listening to the Intelligence Report. Catch you again in the next episode.